Okay, good night, good night, good night, good night. Let me see if a thumbs up if you can hear me loud and clear. Good night, good night. Check 1 2, check 1 2.
We can hear you loud and clear, man.
Okay, good, good, good. Okay, I just want to make sure. Good night, everybody. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. The 60 to 90 minutes of fathers talking about father issues surrounding fatherhood, for fathers, about fathers, ingrained in fatherhood. I'm the curator of the Fatherhood Think Tank, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's show. We're going to have some interesting conversation tonight. Definitely one of the conversations I think that at this present moment we are. Me and Rohan have been talking about this, and we can keep talking about it, but it's keep coming and keep coming. And I wish that we could, at some point, be in a place to get people to come to this platform to, to maybe talk about some of the things and talk about some issues. Tonight's topic is one: how can a father kill his family? And I first, before we start, I just want to definitely send prayers out to, and I know that we've seen it, we kind of been inundated, especially depending on what your social media, your news, you know, algorithm is. You have been well inundated with the things that's been going on and the type of things that happen, even from the smallest guy to the largest kind of guy. These things have happened, and we're going to kind of have a kind of conversation about it tonight, as much as possible as we can, and hopefully we can, uh, delve deep into in the conversation. We're supposed to have another topic tonight, but last night I was on my ride home and I was listening to Roland Martin. He had two psychologists on, and and that what they were saying really resonated with me to say, hey, this is the kind of conversation we need to also be having here at our Fatherhood Think Tank. And so tonight we are going to have that conversation. We're going to try to, work our way through it with the most sensitivity. But let's get that. Let's try to get that conversation started. I let the fathers who are on introduce themselves, and then we'll get started with this conversation.
I guess I'll go first. My name is Leonard Ross. I was invited by Lionel. We go way back. I appreciate the invite, Lionel. I'm sorry I'm on camera. I'm multitasking, but I definitely wanted to join and be part of the conversation. I'm actually at the park with my daughter at track practice. Speaking of fatherhood, so.
Don't worry, brother. As long as we got your voice, we can work with it. We don't need to see your face most of the time. As long as we can still get your voice. Go ahead. Next.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father
Well,
to
I
a tribe.
appreciate y'all having me. Thank you.
No doubt, fam. And I appreciate you coming in. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, 1 granddaughter, and 1 grandson. And it's always a pleasure to be here.
I'll go ahead and jump in. My name is Mackenzie Moore, father of 2, 28-year-old son, 23-year-old daughter. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be here tonight. I've admired this platform from afar for quite some time. Don't usually get the opportunity to participate because I usually am at work from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., but I had to take the day off to have a colonoscopy. That's a conversation that we need to have amongst men on another night. But I'm excited about sharing this, giving my input about this topic, and grateful again to be here this evening amongst you brothers. Thank you.
Welcome, brother Brent. You see, we know people out there It's good to see you finally come in the house and open it up.
Share it on all platforms. Hopefully, I'll draw some more intellect to the circle.
Alrighty. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Ed Tenney. I am a father of 3 children and 2 grandbabies, and one is on the way. Should be here by June. Excited to be here and just looking forward to this particular conversation.
Good evening, fathers. My name is Rohan Rodok. I'm a father of 2 young teenagers, 2 young ladies, I should say, 21 and 18. As usual, it's more than a pleasure to be here. Hopefully, we can empower fathers as they go along this journey of fatherhood.
Excellent. And I think that's everybody. I'm sure as people come on, we will get them in the queue and start the conversation. We have some people look like we have some people in the audience just watching. They don't care to come on. They just want to listen in the audience, and that's fine as well too. But definitely, if they want, they can definitely leave comments in the comment box on the platform. So definitely, if you have comments, questions, things, you can definitely put that in here, and we can get to that. Especially to you out there tonight watching the comments. Hit them on one of the platforms, on the YouTube page, on the Facebook page, and we will get to those comments as questions and those things. But let's start off with this. At this point, the way, and I like when I seen some posts that you made, a few posts in some places, I was like, wow, is that Lightborn right there saying? I've never really seen you post. I have never really seen you posting, and I was saying to myself, this is an interesting dynamic, because I noticed me and Lightborn posters between us and things that we know and people that we know, but I never seen him like commenting on posts in the comment section. I don't read a lot of comment sections, but sometimes I do, just to see where people are with a certain topic or what thing is going on. But I, as we're looking at this tonight, and the conversation we want to have is, reason of asking this question is, how can a father kill his family? And let me define what I mean by family. I don't just mean, when I say a family, I mean he can kill his wife, he can kill his children, he can kill himself, he can do, he get relatives, family members who might be around, all of those things that are interrelated to a family. So I don't want to just get caught up in one topic and subject that has happened in the present day. I want to look at this holistically in reference to what is happening to us as men, and many men who are fathers. What is happening to kind of put them in this place that, and because I just want to say I'm somewhat uncomfortable at some point of some of the ideas of why people are at some point presenting why the men are at this point of doing it, right? And why these things are happening. It's kind of almost like, it's almost disheartening. I mean, I almost feel, I listened to Dr. Carr last night, and when I was watching the Roland Martin thing, and I felt exactly how he felt. I was thinking about our community completely, and this is becoming a thing that is, is a community thing that is, it hurts, but now where are we putting the hurts, and how are we defining the hurts, and who are we putting blame and these things too? And that's what we like to find a place to say, let me point the finger at this or who and this. And so I throw out here to you fathers, I mean, where are we? Where are we in a place right now? Because I have my theory, and I've been kind of pushing that, but I want to get fathers out here who, you've been thinking about this. You came on the platform tonight knowing this was going to be the topic. So I want to just hear, what you're feeling right at this moment. What's your thoughts and so people can, kind of get a good idea of where we're heading with this conversation.
If I may,
Go ahead, brother. This is. And as soon as you go, we're gonna get Travis to introduce us.
okay. What I see, and this is not just from observing the events that we've seen in the media, but also from my work. Currently, I'm a corrections counselor, so I work, with the incarcerated population of Miami-Dade County Corrections. I have observed and witnessed a profound and pervasive lack of emotional intelligence in our community, couched in generations of unaddressed trauma. I want to read to you briefly this brief definition. I got this from Copilot Search of emotional intelligence. So to give context of what I'm saying, emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and use emotions effectively in oneself and others to guide thinking, behavior, and social interactions. So I think that has led to a lot of the incidents that we see where what the younger generations call just people crash, men in particular, crashing out. Usually it's often over conflict that could be addressed through conversation. And if you had some tools to know how to resolve conflict civilly, but we don't have it. And it's getting worse. That's my perspective.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Travis, before anybody, back in. Go ahead and get you in, introduce yourself, brother.
Hello, everyone. How you doing, fathers? I mean, I've been missing y'all, so I decided to jump on today. My name is Travis Sands. I'm a father of two beautiful boys. I'm also CEO and founder of Our Chance Enterprise that focuses on character development from kids from 5 to 18, just building wholeness in our community. Thank you all for inviting me, and I'm honored to be here just to listen to you all speak about what's going on in the fatherhood.
Thank you.
Ron, okay, go ahead and set me up again, Ron. What's the question? We're gonna play volleyball. Set me up. Run the question again, Ron.
Oh no! I'm sorry. I said we're play volleyball. I'm just saying volleyball. Oh well, no. I mean, I think that I think when I think of what Leonard was just saying, a big part, that what's happening in our community. I don't know. So I listen, and this is where I think you might even begin to fit. I don't feel like this idea of emotional intelligence. I hear that word, right? But I'm also thinking that to have emotional intelligence, you had to first be given a full understanding of what emotions is and how that dynamic works. And then who is determining what's intelligence, right? And how is intelligence defined? Because we go old-fashioned way, and as a clinician, if we give somebody an intelligence test, that test can at some point be biased, right? Based on who giving it and who they're giving it to, based on what their standard of intelligence is. So I throw that and think that, here's a point where we get to almost to, and I think like what I'm going to say is we get to a point where we're throwing something up against the wall and saying, let's see if that sticks. Right. Because that's what the system is kind of saying. But you trying to stick to, a wall that is a plastic wall. And so that's not sticking because we have a whole nother culture of how we kind of do things sometimes in our community. And also as men, emotional intelligence sounds good sometimes when you hear it at conferences and things for women at the larger point. Sometimes I feel like, and that becomes like, I have emotional intelligence because I can manage myself and control myself. And is that emotional intelligence, or is that maintaining the status quo so you can fit into society the way it wants. So the question I'm just giving some comment back to Leonard's thought, but the question was, how are you feeling about what is going on right now? What are we seeing with fathers and men?
You know what? I'm going to push back on that. And that wasn't Leonard. That was actually Mackenzie.
That was Mackenzie's thought.
Yeah, that was Mackenzie.
Oh, my bad.
I'm pretty sure Leonard could jump in.
I'm looking at, I'm seeing stuff. I'm sorry, Mackenzie.
Don't worry about it. But, you know, I always push back against the emotional intelligence because I always thought it was a bunch of crap. But what I would say, emotions are everything but intelligence. That's number one, because emotions are instincts. It's not intelligence. Number two, I challenged myself. When I heard about this situation, I looked in a place where most men didn't look, and your clinicians and all these talking heads. Man, I can't stand half of these dudes on this internet. I'm gonna be honest with you, because they're so full of crap. They don't look in the major place, the number one place they should look, and that's within themselves. And you should have asked yourself first. If you're going to really have this discussion, you should ask yourself first, am I capable of this? If you want to have a real discussion, a genuine discussion. But most people who didn't ask themselves this question are not equipped to have this discussion in the first place. That's simply the way I feel about it. I believe that everything mental is environmental. That I'm sure of. There was an old African adage about it was a bunch of I'm just paraphrasing right now, about a bunch of fish. What happened is a bunch of fish was coming downstream, and dead fish was coming downstream, and people was like, "Oh, what happened to the fish? What happened to the fish?" Nobody thought to really look at the water. And so everybody was just blaming the fish and focusing on the fish, but everybody was just everybody was ignorant to look at the water, because the fish, it's obvious. So we saw the fish and we see the fish is dead, and we wanted to know, oh wow, why these fish are dead, but nobody thought to test the water. And so it's the same thing when it comes to this, and particularly in Black community, because we have the experience, but we allow people to make us the experiment always in these situations. When we can answer these questions, like I'm gonna do right now, because I'm like, man, first of all, we got to own our narrative. To say we don't know, because I'm like, that's crap. We know. We always know. And our situations, and don't isolate this crisis to yourself, because I'm like, hey, there was a boatload of white people within this year just did the same thing to their peoples. But we isolate the crisis to ourselves as if it's some kind of special thing that only Black people do. That's crap. Mm-hmm. Watch out for people that would do that for you, because there's not good representations of you. Right?
Well,
I'm gonna leave everybody up, but I got so much more I can say about that, but I'm gonna let somebody else go there.
Lionel, I don't think we disagree at all. I've closed my statement with saying that the pervasive and profound lack of emotional intelligence is couched in unaddressed trauma. And that unaddressed trauma is what informs our instincts. I think that unaddressed trauma is what informs our instinct. Instinct is not an isolated thing. So if this is what you have seen, if this is what you experienced, this is what is encoded in your DNA, and nobody has thought of how to, we haven't thought of how to fix ourselves individually and as a community. I'm not just speaking about women. I'm not just speaking about Black people, but I'm considering the audience that we're talking to. Until we address those generational traumas, then they're going to continue to inform our instincts, and it's going to get pervasively worse generation upon generation. And yeah, it's not just us. We see it. It's not just us. But it's a fatherhood think tank, but I only see Black fathers on this platform. So we're going to talk about our trauma, how we fix our community, I would think.
No, I can agree with that, because that's the thing about this, and I love about the think tank, because we're definitely we always on here to challenge each other. That's what makes it a think tank. No disagreement is a disconnection. We never treat disagreement as disconnection. Me and Ron, you should see the earlier show when me and Ron were going head to head. But you understand, I really believe that we should, and we're obligated to think things out for ourselves. I can think of situations where, because again, this is not the first time I've seen this. I've seen this, and again, it's cross culture. And so, what I meant by environment, and this, everything is not mental, it's environmental, is because it's the climate of the country, if not the world. And right now, there's a lot of desperate narratives out there, unfortunately, because a lot of us, and I mean, a lot of the talking heads that's putting this desperation out there and these desperate narratives out there are not taking accountability for the type of environment that they're structuring in society. And so, because of that, people are just looking for the next hot story. You understand? So their shows, their perspectives, and their relevance can just push forward. Because again, there's a lot of money to be made off a tragedy. You understand? And what I am saying is, I'm tired of even black money. I'm just tired of us jumping on tragedy just to make money and to be relevant, and never coming up with no real answers. And so we can sit on your. As a matter of fact, I haven't heard one common sense answer since the time this thing that's so tragedy happened. I heard the typical answers. Oh, we need to pray. And I'm like, half y'all don't even go to church. What you gonna pray? What is your prayers worth? You don't, you understand? So people who suggesting you need to do something that they don't have no respect for doing, but they'll say it. You understand? There's no real equity in our integrity. Let me just say that. And until we put some equity in our integrity, you understand, then we're going to be subjected to these tragedies and no real power to change them. So I'm waiting to hear something that's really transformative when it comes to really addressing this situation. And I'm gonna tell you something, Ron. And I've been listening. I ain't no fan of Roland Martin. I love him as a person, as a brother, but it's nobody he bring on there to make absolutely no sense to me. And everything is political. And so that's the way I feel about it. I can, and see what I'm telling you. I'm getting a little emotional now. You understand? But I guess I'm using emotional intelligence to really guide what I really want to say. But I'm going to listen to you guys and try to be more inspired and less instinctive when it comes to this conversation.
You're in a safe space, though, bro.
I don't need safe. I don't believe men. We create safe space, but we never need one. I'm very clear about that.
I'll put to the conversation the word fear. Many people live their lives in fear. We know that whenever times change, financially, emotionally, domestic violence rises. Many men are challenged. They're taught to be providers. They're taught to have sometimes unrealistic expectations. And we know men in general don't communicate well. And unfortunately, they implode. And unfortunately, people die based off their actions. I think we, as Lionel said, we need to reach out to these men. Many times there are signs to show that the relationship was fractured or ending or going to implode. And we need interventions like this Fatherhood program to go get them. They are at the courts. They have restraining orders. They have come into contact with the police. And of course, we see this happen, and it happens again, or not maybe by our neighbors in the rich neighborhood, in the poor neighborhood, and the poor kids are the ones who suffer. And we really need to make a change, because what we're doing now is not really working. We are, again, as he said, we see it on the news and like, wow, how did this happen? I mean, he's a governor. It's happening more often. And most of it may be learned behavior, maybe anger, the emotion, if that applies. But the signs were always there. And we need more intervention. We need more people. We need to intervene and get to these men. And in some cases, get to the women. Because in DV, sometimes it's both parties. And the children are in the mess. And unfortunately, people are dying. So how I feel about it, I have fear. I have fear of the economy. I have fear of even a relationship, because everybody's so angry these days. Everyone is carrying that weight that weight, and if you touch them with a pin, it's an explosion. Everyone is angry, and we got to find a way to reach the people who are going to explode or implode and try and save some lives. That's the way I feel about what's going on right now. And we know whenever the economy is bad, these diseases rise. They rise whenever things are not going the way as planned. So that's how I feel about what's going on right now. And I'm hoping that as we continue, we will find some solutions. And if we can save 10, let's save 2. If we can't save 2, let's save 5. That's what I have to say regarding the word fear. That's how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah. So Rohan, we've been talking about this. I mean, part of almost this platform is some of the. It's funny because I was watching a documentary for AB, Antonio Brown, and remember when he was in South Florida and we was trying to reach out to him when he was going through the thing because we felt like, hey, he was about to explode in some capacity, and we was trying to get him to come, and how we thought about it'd be good if he could get on the platform and have this place to be able to communicate, but also his involvement would make it a place for more people to say, well, he's there and let me be there, and hopefully not for the celebrity part, but saying that you see in the public someone who was going through some things and they went to a place where men were. I think about how we've been doing that and continuing to try to do that. But then I listened to Roland, when I was listening to Roland talk about he had went to a men's thing, and he said, what they did the whole time. First time they was out playing games and at the park doing laser tag and all this. And then they had a dinner, and then they was gonna bring out some more food and was gonna play some more games. And he was saying, well, y'all not gonna have no conversation. Y'all not gonna. I know people in this room who got things going on that you need to be able to. And I think the big thing that I know that we've talked about and is so important here and can help a lot of men who we have at this point. I think a lot of it, when you listen to, when you can get investigated to them, they have been to a place where they think they are all by themselves and facing what they're facing, and they're the only person facing. There is no normalization for what they're facing, or that, this is so isolated to them that they have to take most extreme measures to get out, as the guys in South Florida said, he couldn't take it no more, and people have made their assumptions of what it means for him not to take it no more. I know a big thing is that he can't take that his woman was she was the vice mayor and she was doing big things, and he was down here being a Woland man who was second fiddle to his wife. And I think that sometimes is a bad analogy to believe, because a lot of people are happy that their partner will be that upper person, because sometimes that, I know some men who are married to their wife, and they don't make their wife, but they advocate for their wife to go out and do everything, go get the minority stuff, get all the stuff. Where in the backbone, they working the stuff from the back room, not as individuals, but as their family, building stuff for their family, and that's a strategy a lot of people are doing. But you know how you hit it on the head. There's so much going on right now. And there's no more going on, I think, than any time before, because there's not a difference. I think that we have almost, and I think McKenzie said this pretty good, is that it's like this little glass house, and we're only seeing us in that glass house, right? And it looks like it's us. And we begin, once we see, as I always say, in that mirror house, not glass house, mirror house, we only see ourselves, and we think we are the makers of all of this. Like, we're the makers of killing our family members. We're the makers of killing each other. We're the makers of that. And then we begin to say, oh, this is us. And we defined it. And then we begin to villainize it to each other. I had to tell somebody, I said, I know that it's a nice I mean, I know it's important. It's a good thing to advocate and say, hey, look at all these women dying from female homicide and what has happened, right? And I then said to them, not to go against that, not to be against that, but did you know that twice as many men was killed by other men in the city I live in alone? I mean, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, sometimes a day. So when we're looking at, these things and we're moving it into like, the relational part, it's bigger than just the relation. It's our community. And it takes us to begin as a community to really look at it and begin to address it. It's not no longer, their little private issue and he was like this and she was like that. There is something making it very comfortable for people to not care about life anymore. Or I feel like it will be better to end all life than to continue to go on with what they're going on through, or what they feel they're going on through, or what they perceive or idea. And it's a platform like this, I think that definitely is one that they can come to and begin to have conversations in reference to what's going on with them, how they're feeling, get different points of view from different men from different stations, class, financial, demographics. You can be able to hear different kinds of fathers. We have all kinds. We have married fathers, unmarried fathers, deadbeat dad fathers, as they would call. I throw that all the time because what people call you is what sometimes people will say you are, even though they don't know anything about you. So you have all these different kind of dads being able to give a point of view to somebody who might be struggling with who they are, what's going on in their life, how they're dealing with their partner, how they're dealing with their kids, how they're just dealing with life in general. And this could, definitely be a place for them to be able to kind of pan some of that out and not go to the easier part to say, I'm all alone. No one can understand what's going on with me. It's so hard. I can't even take it no more. And because I can't take it no more, I'm going to take everybody with me who I feel is important to me. Because I think that is a part that sometimes we miss. I think that there's this big part of that killing people. And I know that people don't like, I've been beat up this week over this. Like, killing is wrong. No matter what you say, killing is wrong and it should not kill. Then I get very annoyed with that because I'm saying that you have a lot of energy when it's something that we do to each other, but when other people are doing to us, you have no words. And I know, I understand in many instances, people say, well, we should be taking care of ourselves first, right? But I think in our mind, taking care of ourselves first is recognizing that people are doing things to us. And sometimes when we have so many things happen to us, we become hopeless. We can become in a point of, we don't know, there's no justice. There's nothing that can be done.
Ron, I'm gonna put a pin in that, what you just said. Stop right there at that one word you just said. One word, hopeless. Now I'm gonna tie it because I can tie some fiction into it and some history into it. Anytime you factor hopelessness in, this is more likely to happen. I mean, they got situations in the Bible like it. I thought it was what they call it again, Teeny? When Jesus do certain things, he gives a story to make a point.
Oh, parables?
Yeah, I thought it was a parable, but come to find out, the passage was actually literal. And they even had situations in the Bible that things was getting so bad, and back to your point, so hopeless, Ron, that the people not only was killing their children, they were eating their children. And so I don't want people to sit here and think like this is something that just foreign to black people. I'm like, no, you won't. Because I can point to a whole heap of different cultural instances that, and I just went straight to the Bible on this one. Because again, I thought it was a parable, come to find out it was something literal. And so you had such a hopelessness at that particular time that it was the norm for not only people to kill their children, it was the norm for them to eat their children. And then I can think about the middle passage where that it was so hopeless for slaves on the boat to the fact that they wasn't and supposed to becoming slaves and subjected their family to slavery, etc. They would kill their children and their family just to avoid what they were going to be running to on the other side of the shores of America. And so when we put real context to that one word you just used, Ron, that will be the foundation for these type of tragedies, which is hopelessness, then we'll start to have a real conversation with real answers. So I just want to put that context in there because I definitely want to hear from Tenny and Leonard.
Good evening. I do have a couple of things I wanted to mention. I want to back up way back. I'm sorry, I was having audio issues, but I kind of agree with Lionel with the environmental, right? And I'm speaking as a black man. I do agree, Lionel. It is across all boards. I deal with all families here in Miami, from Hispanics to rich whites to places you wouldn't expect to see some of the things going on in their homes. So it's across all boards, but we don't speak to us. And I know us. I know what we discuss in our neighborhoods, right? So when you say it's environmental with the mental, I completely agree with that. And I think when you talk about the coping skills, right? And the how do we cope? For example, what's the number one thing we say? If it was me, I would have did this. I would have did that. You're perpetrating this behavior and you're hearing that growing up. You know, I just had a conversation with somebody the other day that I can remember my uncles, for lack of a better word, was prepping me for prison. Telling me what it's like, this and that, and make sure you go to the feds because they treat you better in prison. And that's the prison that's going to treat you the best. So it's culturally, and we have to start changing that culture of I'm so bad, I'd have killed them, I'd have busted them in their mouth, I'd have did this. That's the culture that's perpetrated, and so then that's the culture that's creating the violence for solutions. Excuse me, I'm working on being more articulate, but to me, that's where it starts. So I completely agree with you, Lionel. I do want to challenge, though. I do think when we do change that narrative, I want to quote Damian Marley has a song called "Struggle Discontinue." So I think the narrative, we have to start appreciating what we do got and celebrate what we do got, and instead of celebrating what glorifying what we don't got. You know, and I think that creates that stress, that feeling of hopelessness, because you see the person you grew up with, now they buying a house and you ain't got a house, or that person has this car, or that person can stay fresh, and you have it now. It's like I'm falling behind. That's also the social media aspect that's invaded our culture as well. You know, so I think all that ties in. And I think it does lead to that. I completely agree. I'm on my phone. I'm what Rohan was saying about the DV. In these times, it is one of the components that you see violence at the home start rising as economic stressors start rising. But it's still based off of, how can I put it? The stressors come based off of what you don't have. You know, it's an old saying. You know, when I talked to I remember my grandma and all those, they didn't know they was poor. And then me and Lionel had a conversation the other day. Them same people who didn't know they was poor is the same people whose house we living in today. So, you know, that's just my 2 cents I want to add to it. I'm just gonna sit back and listen, but I think everyone's brought some great points to the table. But that's my thoughts. And as far as emotional intelligence, again, I go back to what Lionel was saying. That's the environment. For example, if you growing up in a war zone, what you looking at is going to be totally different from what you looking at for growing up in the suburbs, where you only got to worry about stepping in some dog poop. You know, so it's gonna take a different type of emotion to survive.
Like that.
So, but thank you, gentlemen. That's all I got to say.
Hey, Leonard, that was a great analogy. I'm gonna give you one even better for social emotional intelligence. The one that was popular just a little while ago in Orlando, like 2 weeks ago, when you say you're gonna bring Trick Daddy to your national conference, and you get upset because he do what he do, right? You would hope that he would have the ability to say, "Oh, I'm not gonna talk and do what I normally have done, how I do it," but it's his environment. That environment, he can be a businessman, be everything. Trick is who Trick is. He gonna do what he gonna sing and talk the way he not gonna change so much. Now, and I find it interesting because you see, also they had hired Luke and what's my man name?
JT Money.
Who?
Yeah, JT Money.
Oh, not again.
But when they did their performances, they had the ability to change their performances because they understood that, hey, this audience may not want, they want me, but they might not want that, right? And I think that's a part of that whole thing that sometimes we have to begin to understand, because in both instances, the people who are upset with Trick is correct and Trick is correct. And this where the problem comes a lot of times, because we got to have a bag. Somebody got to be wrong. And if we could just come to the table and say, hey, let's be honest. You knew you was hiring me. I don't know one song that I'm going to sing that's going to be, listen, most of my first song start, anybody want to motherfucking die? Okay, so if I got a song that start like that, and that's like one of my biggest hits, what you think I'm about to sing? Anybody? I can't even change that to clean.
You got Nan songs that fit their criteria.
Right.
And Luke's running for Congress, so that affected his
absolutely. And then
Well, listen. Well, you know what? It's a great example, and I'm just gonna say it. And I think Teeny, you will love this saying. The Bible said, God will use the foolish things to confound the wise. And so the question is, why is God using foolish things to confound the wise? And I'm not even talking about Trick Daddy right now. I'm talking about you got the president of the United States. You can't be more foolish than that. But he's still your leader, and God ordained him to be your leader. So the question is, why? You understand? I always attribute him to Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar is a very strange book, because if you look at Nebuchadnezzar by himself, you'll miss the whole lesson. God literally gave his people to Nebuchadnezzar for a particular reason. He gave his people up to, just in a nutshell or synopsis, he gave his people up to worse leadership because the people he had was bad. So he like, my people will be better under worse leadership than they are under the bad leadership that I actually anointed and prepared for them. You understand? And so it's very rare. It's like being stuck between unrighteousness and self-righteousness. That's where we're living at right now. That's the hopelessness. And I can describe it because when you remember I told you, own your narrative. So if anybody asks you a question about you, you should be able to explain your environment. And that's simply the real science of when people say, oh, we're not voting or we're not interested in voting, we're disengaged when it comes to voting, is because it's the equivalent of what they usually say, voting for the lesser of two evil. The question is, what is the science of voting for the lesser of two evils? Teachable moment. Here's the science of voting for the lesser of two evils. It's saying I'm voting between unrighteous leadership and self-righteous leadership. Never think that self-righteous leadership is better than unrighteous leadership, because it will be the equivalent, and I'm going back to church again, of Pilate, right, crucifying Jesus, and the very people who gave Jesus to Pilate to crucify him. You see the difference? And so never think, or just to simply put it, it's the difference between fire and carbon monoxide. The only difference between the two destroying you is fire will burn you to death. You know that. You see that coming. The carbon monoxide actually will kill you in your sleep. i.e., which is why you have the instinctive movement called woke. Because it was not so much the fire that we was, back to your point, Ron, that we was in fear or afraid of. It was the carbon monoxide that was actually killing our progress that we couldn't really see and describe because we were too asleep. You understand? To notice the difference. So we was always trained to look for the fire. And a lot of people, when it comes to smoke detectors, you know how many people died? Not from the fire of the smoke detector or what the smoke detector was actually there to prevent. They were actually dying from carbon monoxide. Well, that's what unrighteous leadership is like. It's like, not unrighteous, but self-righteous leadership is like the carbon monoxide, and unrighteous leadership is like the fire. And so I think we need to check both at both ends, because this is the reason for the fear and the discourse and desperation that we're feeling right now.
We on an analogy. We are on an analogy roller coaster right now. But I them analogies were sounding so good. I see you laughing, Tenny, because I heard. So listen, it's my time to talk. Analogies is what we use, and I think this is a perfect example that for us as men, especially as being black men on this platform right now, we pretty good with analogies. Analogies mean way more. It almost cut to the chase of what we're talking about and how we can understand it way better than someone saying, well, if this happens in that way, and then the other opposite of that is, listen, analogy is cut and dry. Either you're gonna get burned by fire and die, or carbon monoxide gonna kill you. They both gonna do the same thing. It's just how you going out to get it. And so I think thanks for putting those kind of that real talk into the conversation tonight. Like, hey, Ed, you've been silent. I see you laughing. I really want to hear. I know you got something there. Because you're always cooking something. You're like Ed the chef. You're over there cooking something. We just don't know what it is that you're cooking. So let's.
Hey, Ron, and let me throw this in there. This is about the closest y'all gonna get to emotional intelligence on this show. Go ahead, Ed.
You guys are funny. Lightborn, you said something very early in the conversation that when you were talking about the talking heads trying to issue whatever they thought the reason was behind an individual, taking out family members and stuff like that. One thing that you kind of alluded to was kind of a self-introspection about where you are, how you would conduct yourself, and that was very deep and profound. And the reason why I say that, especially, if you guys would allow me to get a little transparent, 10, 12 years ago, I believe I would have been very judgmental about the actions of these men doing what they did, mainly because I was in, a good marriage, a good solid marriage. So being in that bubble, if you will, kind of isolated me from, kind of seeing what other relationships are going through. And it wasn't until, I've gone through what I've gone through recently that, man, there's two sides to the story. And we need to wait until we are able to hear both sides. Now, in the case where, the gentleman killed himself or got killed, I think there was a lieutenant governor who killed his wife, and then he killed himself. And then the guy who killed his kids, he was eventually confronted and was killed. And then you got the vice mayor in Coral Springs. I'm looking at those things Um, you got to have both sides of the story. You know how people say there's, this person's truth, and then there's the other person's truth, and somewhere in the middle is the real truth. When I looked at myself, as you were speaking, Brother Lightborn, I'm thinking, you don't know what external influences that could have percolated, if you will, whatever rose up in that individual to do what they did. Also, man, it's tough to say, if they were feeling isolated, if they were feeling lack of control, if they were feeling helpless, hopeless. Brother Ron, you said that word earlier. Man, I identified with each one of those emotional things. My difference, and I can only talk about my difference, is that I can understand, but I would never be able to carry something out like that. That's just not my character or who I am.
Right.
But when those emotions hit you and you are in your mind dealing with those emotions, I had no experience, if you will, in dealing with those intense emotions. But it was only, I think, that the Holy Spirit that was in me that kept me. You know that cliche where it says, "But by the grace of God, there go I." Um, the Holy Spirit is the one who kept me, if you will. Not that I would do something like that, but because there was a thought that I understood where a guy could be dealing with emotions and he just doesn't have the wherewithal or the Holy Spirit, in my case, to be able to uh, 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 capture that and throw it away. So I say all that to say is that we there's got to be a way for us to be able to check on us. I don't know how else to do it. When I was, going through my worst moments, I mentioned this before. It was my children that I was able to lean on, and they helped me through a whole bunch of range of emotions and stuff that I was going through. Some guys are out there by themselves. They are out there by themselves. They don't know where to turn, where to look, how to conduct themselves. And I don't have an answer, but I'll just say this. We need to wait for intelligence and understand that there are two forces at play, especially when it comes to a husband killing a wife or girlfriend or something like that. So that's kind of like all I have to offer is, just kind of being transparent and just really being introspective, saying, man,
these brothers,
emotions that, were it not for the Holy Spirit, who knows how I would have acted if I was different.
Yeah, you know what? We have some of the most, let me tell you something. The Fatherhood Think Tank has some of the most modest brothers, fathers, who, and this is why it works the way it works. Tenny, you gave a whole sermon just in what you said. And it's almost a sermon that I continue to keep having with people, but it becomes problematic because then they're saying, you condone this, you condone this, no, I don't condone it. I also understand it's not until you get to what you just said, Tenny, and it's so important, not until you experience that place, right? That then you may, because we only hear about the men and fathers who do something to their families. We don't hear anything about the fathers that just do something to themselves. I want to be very clear with this. Statistics would let us know that you will hear the mass media, you'll hear people talk about, oh, the tragic, what he did, this and that. But when you go and really look deep down, and if you spend time at funeral homes and at the morgue, and you see why people coming in, and when you start looking at men and fathers coming in, a large amount of that is self-inflicted for the same reason. They didn't know how to handle. They didn't have the resources. They didn't have the community. They didn't have the support. They didn't. And I brought this really important topic. Gave a great example of someone having that kind of support, right? And when in a conversation I was having recently, what was the guy running for governor of Florida?
We talking about Gilliam.
Huh?
Gilliam.
So we can clearly understand and know what happened to him and what he ended up facing was definitely enough for him to be in that space, right? Be in that space. But what I seen happen to him is that he didn't lose the support of his unit of people, with even in his wife being the woman that she was. Like, and people were like, "Is that fool? Why was she?" But here we're talking about. Look at what happened. People fall down. Your man got the song. We fall down, and sometimes we got to get back up. But sometimes if you fall down and people say, "Look at you down there," and say, "Oh, let's step away," you don't have any. You lose it. You lose everything, and then you say, "What do I have to lose?" It's like, what do I have to lose? And so I definitely, hey, you said something, and I say this to you. I am in that point where you can also be at the same point that we maybe because it's not just about your marriage or your kids. There could be a lot of things that happen to you that puts you in that place that you never would imagine or think that you would be. And depending on what let's go back to the environment, what your environment says, how you handle that. What the spirit around you says, what you should do, what your learned behavior. Listen, the biggest thing is what's your learned behavior allows you to then say, this is how I handle this situation. Now, since I'm all alone in the cave by myself, how do I get out? What do I do to get out of it? I mean, I can think of multiple times I've been in that place, but I think what Ed said is so important. I had a spirit. I had an out. I realized I wasn't in a cave. I was in a tunnel. And you're able to go through and say, I see something at the other end. So let me suffer this. And it's going to be greater at the other end. But not everyone gets to that point.
That's a really good analogy. You don't even got to go no further than that. That was a really good analogy. What I will say, my support is not just all of you guys. I'm a person that watch people's lives. That's me. I'm a watcher, right? And so I watch, for instance, I throw Mackenzie out there. I watch Mackenzie life, and watching Mackenzie life, it helps me with my marriage because I watch how he treated his wife. I will watch Ron life, and it remind me about the importance of fellowship. You understand? And so I watch Leonard's life, and it remind me about the importance of education. I watch Teeny life. It reminds me of the importance of humility. And then I watch Rohan's life, and it reminds me of being, considerate. You understand of what I'm about to say, right? And so it's all those different experiences that shapes my environment, right? Because you guys are my environment, contrary to popular belief. You are my environment. Every interaction shapes your environment. I think not just with the age of social media, but I think within the last 20 years, we have confused relationships as a status material and not a service. And so when you start to see relationship as a status and not a service, of course, the narrative gets skewed, and which is what you just explained, Ron, when it came to Gilliam, how people start to say, oh, you stupid because you stayed there. I said, because anybody who was in the status of that relationship would have left. But when you're in the service of a relationship, then you tend the real you start to show up. You understand? And I'm going to be honest with you. You still can put yourself in harm's way, because when you start to be in the status of a relationship and the superficial parts of the relationship and things hit the ground, you understand? Then you, and I'm just going to say it for what it is. You could have really been, you could have perpetuated a person killing you anyway. Because if a person thinks that, wow, all you was here for was when I was up. You understand? And you see a lot of that too. And that's the part we don't talk about. And so a person would feel justified in saying, wow, you leave when I'm down, but you were there when I was up. Of course, I'm going to be justified with my right to kill you. And so when we start to put a narrative to these emotions, it doesn't sound pleasant. You understand? And this is why you're going to be in a lot of arguments, Ron, because you start to put narrative to these emotions. Nobody want to hear the emotion. All they want to hear is good or it's bad. That's it. Nobody know. And I think the Bible admonishes us. It said, above all things, get understanding. You understand? We're mandated to get understanding. And so because of that, and I'm going to be honest with you, I love that word, mandated to get understanding, because key word in there, man, dated to get understanding, which means we should be in a constant relationship with understanding. That's when you start to reach, back to your point, Mackenzie, some type of emotional intelligence. But up until that point, we're going to always have to be village-minded and understand the connection between all of us. You understand? I think when the Bible says a threefold cord is not easily broken, that's exactly what it means. It means when my cord is broken, I still got you guys, 2 or 3 of you guys, to keep me strong, to not do that kind of stuff. But back to your original point, back to my original point, and thank you, Ed, for pointing that out. I had to do something that most people are not going to tell you they did in public. I had to ask myself, am I capable of that? It's a hard discussion. And then again, it's a certain genuineness about people who got to look at themselves first before I go ahead trying to look at the tragedy of somebody else. I got to see if that tragedy or potentially lives in me as a man, because he was a man and I'm a man. You understand? These men were married like me. And so they was in situations like me. And so I have to ask myself that if I'm going to be genuine and trying to come up with some kind of equitable conclusion or that I can offer to society to prevent other brothers and sisters from getting in this kind of situation. So I'm gonna leave that way as it. But go ahead, Mackenzie.
I have Lightburn. I like how you put it in perspective. Let's walk the walk. You get up in the morning, you have a wife, you have kids. Everybody is doing fine. You're living. Everything is okay. I just said status or service. But one day, on your way to work, you get a phone call. I'm leaving. We're gonna go into the shoes of these folks who, why we're here tonight. How can fathers kill their families? You get a call. or text that they're leaving. What I've worked for, the most important thing that is important to me or to my status is going to go apart. All of a sudden, I'm leaving. I don't want this relationship no more. I'm checking out. Okay, we're checking out, right? So I say, hey, let's talk about it. Well, you don't really have to talk about it. We got a letter from the courts that we're going for divorce, which technically you're going for money, because most times the courts are designed for money, in my opinion. So we move on. Then remember, we're leaving the happy home to an unhappy home. Yeah. Let's talk about the unhappy home, because there are many unhappy homes, right? There are many people who are living together because the bills gotta get paid, right? Don't forget the bills, right? The bills gotta get paid. Not everyone is like that, but there are people like that. So here we are. We're on the journey. Now the emotions start to come in. Friends are telling you, do this. The other friends are telling her, do this. Or maybe it's two men, two women, whatever the case may be. No, we're talking about emotions. We're talking about children. In fact, people are fighting over dogs. Sorry, my bad, over pets. Yeah? And then we continue the relationship. When we continue the relationship, we're fighting, we're arguing, we're fighting. And guess what? They walk out of that house looking shine and happy in the morning. Nobody knows, right? Unless the neighbor hear them quarreling, right? But they walk out of the house because we have to put on an illusion. Is that the right word? Or we have to put on illusion that we're happy, where everything is okay. Yeah. So we continue the journey. Here we are. People are shooting people. Look at what the end has Lionel said. The environment, guns, drugs, alcohol, and there are different kind of drugs. Well, gun is a gun to me. And what we're talking about, those and foods that also enhance anger. Those things are in the household. And people are you bought a gun with the intent to protect your family. No, you're using the gun to take out the same family that you're trying to protect.
Well, that's because a marriage license is just like a business license. So when you go to the government, the courts, to divorce and divide yourself as a couple, the government is only going to concern with how you're dividing your assets and your funds. They have no concern about how you separate and maintain and remain whole spiritually and emotionally.
That is correct. So now that we know that so marriage is a license, but in relationships where people are not married, we still have DV. We have two different. I always say this: in your neighborhood where you are right now, every household is run differently. They look alike. They have grass, a car parked in the front, but sometimes in that household it's run totally different from yours. So here we go. Anger is the issue. Anger is a big issue in the room. Some will say infidelity, some will say loss of a job, and there are many other things that are under the umbrella. But what really triggers a male to kill? I hear stories like women play games, men kill. I've always heard that as a kid. And some will say it's true, and some say it's not true.
Well, hold on, Rohan. Can I think what happens is that we sometimes begin to give men a different humanism than we give everybody else, right? We start to do that sometimes, like, and I see this very often. Every human being has a reflex to something happening. That's right. They have a fright, they have a flight, they have a fight. And a large majority of the time, when we look at men, how men are made up, biologically, chemistry wise, what hormones are affected, and this and that, they are more likely, in many cases, to do a fight or a flight. Yes. Go away, out of here, or they're going to fight. Now, when we don't use the word fight when we're talking about helping our family, but why you didn't fight for your child? We don't fight. We want to advocate for our child. Fighting is exactly what it sounds like. And I think Brother McKinney said it very clear. The court does not care about any of that. They're looking at separating finances. Mm-hmm. And when we begin to start talking about our emotionality and those kind of things, the only thing they do here is, I want to fight.
That's right.
Fight to them turns back into the same thing of violence.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that now they got to sit and think, well, this person trying to fight, that means that they may be more prone to violence than the other person who's willing to fight. You fly away. I'm gonna fly away. I'm gonna get away from him or get away from her. Versus, I'm gonna fight for him. I'm gonna fight to be with them. I'm gonna fight them on what I want. The results is in the language. I ain't never met somebody say I'm going to fight and didn't get into some action. You don't say I'm going to fight and you go,
Best man hit my hand. Anyway, but I tell you this, and I'm going to say this because I think I like making people uncomfortable in these conversations because, and I think about it, I don't think I make them uncomfortable. I'm getting a revelation right now. I don't think I like making people uncomfortable in conversations. I think I like making them accountable in conversations. And so let's search for some accountability. Let me be clear. I'm very spiritual. My best self is my spiritual self. So I use a lot of biblical analogies and stuff like that. So let me be clear when it comes to spirit, because I believe a lot of this stuff, if not all of it, is spiritual. I mean, the devil says he goes about roaring like a roaring lion, seeking who he can devour, which means if I can catch you angry and lonely, then I can make you commit a tragedy. That's just the devil. That's just how he works. That's his business. Mm-hmm. What I will say is this, for the people who think this may not be them, let me be clear. Let me give you signs of how this can be you, and this might be you. Number one, if you can abandon your child, and we got single parenting going on all in this country, it can be you. Because abandonment is just another way of saying leaving a child with no support, essentially to die. Contrary to popular belief, if you leave him the chance, you're leaving him to die. So if you can abandon a child, you're capable of this. Here goes another teachable lesson. If you can abuse a child, which means if you believe in physical punishment and things like this, you're capable of it because you don't know how far your emotion will take you when you physically discipline a child. Now, here goes the best one I can throw out there to my sisters. I love it. But if you can abort your child, you understand, which is very sensitive, which is saying I'm basically going to have a procedure to kill my child, then you're capable of this kind of behavior. So I don't want to just leave it at the feet of men. You understand? This is at the feet of humans. You're capable of this. And so don't you think and get on your little self-righteous horse for a minute to think because if you're capable of abortion, you're not capable of killing your child. And this is what I love about my sisters. They'll go ahead and find a mental health diagnosis, which is true, and I'm not disregarding it. But they'll find a mental health analogy to justify them killing their children, which they call postpartum. You understand? And so until we find out what postpartum for a man look like, because, and we don't understand that men can have postpartum, but until we can give men, back to your point, Ron, give men that liberty or that privilege, they're saying, do men have postpartum as well? You understand? Can we hurt like women? Are we capable of doing the type of atrocities that women do and get away with? And so I don't have this kind. I'm like, man, no, all of us are capable of it. And you got to draw them and make them accountable in this conversation, which is pretty much because they always talk about men need to talk until we start talking. So anytime, and I would challenge every man on here listening, anytime somebody have a conversation with you, make sure it's an accountable one that they have.
I'm gonna take that a step further, Lionel. And then when you start talking like that, what's the first thing come out? Man, you acting like a woman.
Right. Absolutely. Out of the mouth of a woman.
Well said. Yeah. So more men commit suicide. Let's do the numbers. More men commit suicide. What happens when you go into suicide? It's simple. Suicide is a dark place where you see no one. It's a place where you're like falling from the sky and you're grabbing for help. You're trying to, how can I get out of this emotion where I want to take my life? So what happens? Here's what I'm going to do. Well, I'm just going to take someone with me. I'm in a suicidal mode. Everything I've worked for is gone, and I have no support. I have no anchor. I have no resource, or at least I didn't seek any, and I'm going to take out every single one. If I have to go, everyone has to go. And those are things that we need to get to the men and women, as Lionel said, because when you get into that suicidal emotion, that's where we need to get to these folks and say, hey, here's a hand. Here, as Ron always says, here's the light. Here's a light. I see a light. Maybe I don't have to continue in this tunnel. And that's the issue here. The issue here is that many people are suicidal. They go to work every day. They drive to work. They look okay. They dress all right. But when you go in the mind, what's going on there? What can trigger them to go into that tunnel, that suicidal tunnel? Economics, end of a relationship, losing a child. There are many things that need to be discussed, and there are many solutions that need to be, how could I say, need to be implemented. We fight wars. Yeah, we fight wars. Yeah, we fight wars every day for uranium or whatever that is. But we need to start fight wars for people's lives. Because there's a war within us right now. And those are the topics that sometimes we don't want to talk about. But for sure, it is coming to surface. And this conversation must continue. Or or in the next year, we're going to be talking about the same thing without no solution. Food for thought.
You can go ahead and wrap it up, Ron.
Well, let me just say this before you close out, Ron. I appreciate that sentiment, Brother Ron. I wish I had the answer to being able to see into a brother or sister or anybody. I believe the Holy Spirit gives you discernment, but there's a certain depth that you can go into your brain. And the only reason why I say that, and I'm calling myself out, Brother Lightborn, is that I've been in some dark places. I've been in some dark places recently. And the environment that you talked about, Brother Lightborn, is strictly important. Not solely, but it's very important, because the environment that God had placed me in allowed me to go through that darkness, to recognize that I had the strength to come out of that darkness, of course, with His help, but it wasn't by myself. I wasn't on an island unto myself, but I distinctly remember just being inside my head so much that there was the sense of despair, the sense of darkness, the sense of isolation. But it was like there was a hope, Ron. There was a hope on the other side of it. That was the only thing that I could grab onto. But there were others around me who showed me the hope that I could get through. So environment, I believe, is critical, and it would be interesting to find out the people or the men who have taken their own lives to really understand what they were going through, to actually reach that point, and what type of environment they were around for them to actually carry out that act. Some environments are not good. So I'm thankful for this show because it is an environment where you can be uplifted, you can be encouraged, you can be held accountable, uh, and you can be challenged to live better, do better, be better. Everybody doesn't have that environmental soup, if you will, to be able to create a healthy life meal uh, for themselves. So I understand you, Brother Rohan, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna say, I heard your light, boy. We gonna wrap this up. We listen. All I'm gonna say is, I review these shows. I attend every one of them, and this show probably is about to go down. Probably one of our best shows we had. We had good shows all the time, right? But this show, for the time that we're having it, the conversation and things that came out of, I say to people, go back. If you just joined in, you just clicked in, go back and watch this whole thing. Listen to the fathers, listen to the men, and what we're talking about, how we're talking about finding your community, finding your group. But the community and the environment has to be pro-human. Let me say that again, because like Boy said it, the environment has to be pro-human, because there's a lot of different things that can put you in all kinds of places, but you definitely want to find that pro-human community to be in. And if it's to come to the Fatherhood Think Tank, come on down. We welcome you. We welcome you here. We put you in the mix, and let you join us here. Listen, go ahead, brother.
Can I just add one little piece? I ain't gonna dwell too long.
Go ahead, brother. Hey, listen.
But this has been a conversation on mental health, right? But I think it's also should be a conversation about narrative, because it's always mental health, mental illness, right? But why nobody don't ever talk about mental fortitude? You know, that we have to develop that, and we have to spread that mental fortitude, because these things are gonna come. You know, it's nobody not gonna eventually face something that's gonna be mentally challenging. But how are we gonna get through that? And I think we need to start pushing that narrative as well, as a society, as a community. It's because it's real. You know, we can find fortitude to do everything, fortitude to push through work, fortitude to push through this. But we have to build that mental fortitude to push through some of these mental illnesses, and don't let them, just to quote the Ray Charles movie, don't let them put that crutch on you. Mm-hmm. You know, I just wanted to add that little piece, because I think you all said some powerful things. I definitely agree. And the other aspect is, I'm a firm believer. I can't sit here and say what I will and I won't do, because I ain't been in that situation. Right. And so that's why I've never judgmental. I may say it's sad. It's sad to hear that story, but I ain't been in that situation to say, I don't know. I might have came home and found out my wife was pregnant from somebody else. I don't know how I'm gonna handle that. I haven't been through that. You know, and I think we have to account for, like someone said earlier, it's two sides in the truth. We don't know what led there. Again, it's not condoning. It's not saying that family deserved that, but I can't sit here and honestly say I know how I will handle that situation. So, again, this is a very positive group. I'm going to try to attend as much as possible. Lionel, I thank you for inviting me, and I thank everybody else for having me. And it's definitely a good habit to create to attend this meeting. So, thank y'all, gentlemen.
All right. Hey, man, listen, we welcome anytime. You don't have to feel obligated to come. You know, donate. You don't got to pay no tithes. You don't got to You don't gotta show it. We ain't gonna call you if you don't make it a 10. If you come late, we're not gonna say you late. We're just open for you. It's for us, about us, about fatherhood. So it ain't no stipulation, ain't no rules other than you come here and be a father, and tell your truth, because your truth will help us with our own truth. Let me get down to we in the show. Let me get to some of the sponsors, because I don't want to miss them, because the reason we can have a show is the sponsors putting on. Our first sponsor for the night, let's go ahead and talk about JAG Attorney at Law. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach. He's the key sponsor of the Fatherhood Think Tank. Without him, we would not be able to sometimes even to have this show. He's been a sponsor for a real deal sponsor sponsoring the show. If you're trying to get in touch with, you're looking for a lawyer in South Florida, you look no further. Johnny A. Gaspar. You can hit him on his email, j.gaspar@jag1law.com. I'll hit the number 305-827-8087. I'll go to his website, www.jag1law.com. One of our key sponsors for the Fatherhood Think Tank. And when he's available, not out, doing the cases that he's doing, is a big contributor to the Fatherhood Think Tank committee. We also want to thank our long-term, from the beginning, sponsors, Fort Lauderdale Bros. That's Zeta Chi chapter of Omega Psi Phi, right there in the beautiful city of Fort Lauderdale Beach. Fort Lauderdale, I almost said beach, but Fort Lauderdale City. They got a beautiful beach though too. The bosses out there, Val Howard and those guys, and putting on, supporting and being a big support of the Fatherhood Think Tank, usually here. To add that the point, we also want to thank our other sponsor and let you know that the Fatherhood Think Tank is not just national. We are international. We have international. Had a big conversation about it. We have the Omega Psi Phi chapter of Zeta Zanu out in Lagos, Nigeria. They was at a big meeting talking about the show and what we do there in Toronto this past weekend. So definitely the chapter Lagos, Nigeria, that is a supporter of the Fatherhood Think Tank. Let's get these sponsors. You got to get the sponsors in. Can't play around. The people that support you, you always want to make sure you recognize them, get them right into place. And then we got another one of our sponsors. Again, we talking big time in my city of Philadelphia. Omega Psi Phi chapter of Omega Lambda, the Philly Qs, another new sponsor. Brothers participate. Look out. We're looking to start having some social alive events, so we can really start to build this in a way in all the communities that we have these foundation sponsors, foundational sponsorships, and they can host something live and in person. So we have that. And then I just want to share this also with the brothers. If you are out there and as you're in the highways and byways, if you have some questions, concerns, you can't get through to my page, you can't leave me a message. Check out the Fatherhood Call Center, a help line for dads. That number is 1-877-4DADS-411. It's offered by the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse and Fathers Incorporated. So if you're looking to just talk about some fatherhood issue, you can get in touch with me, and I'll put you in contact with one of our dads who could talk to you and whatever. Just hit that line. And and the last but not least, I gotta get this back out because I've been out from my other duties on Thursday nights because I've been having some dinner work, and then Thursday nights at 6 o'clock. But Coming up this Thursday night, we will be back in the place, Healthy Black Marriage and Family Podcast, with myself and my my beautiful co-hosts, Fawn Robinson and LaQuetta Sumter. So those ladies come on, we talk about Black marriage and family podcast. So join us Thursday night, right on the mentor therapist, mentor educator therapist, and also on right there on Facebook. So those are things we got going down. We want to thank everybody for definitely joining us tonight. And as we always do, those fathers who are new here, want you to stay. So I want you to participate in it. We had a good conversation, and every good conversation should end in a circle of those men coming together and doing something. We have our weekly chant that we do to help us go from this conversation to the next time we meet and have a conversation again. And it goes a little something like this. I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of
I am a
honor.
man of honor.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I say I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I
I
am.
am a man of respect.
Fathers, I say that I am.
I
I
am.
am.
Fathers, I say that we are.
We are.
Fathers, I say that you are.
You are.
A championship Father, we do that. We put our arms up. We hold our kids on our arms, our families on our back. So we make it another day and push this idea of healthy fatherhood to the community and to the world. Thank you for joining us tonight. Definitely, guys. I look forward to seeing Mackenzie, Leonard. You guys, you're welcome anytime to come on here. I know this was a big topic, and it was some, and I think that the reason why we need to have this topic, because this topic probably was affecting a lot. I think that the one thing I'll say, the idea when you said having healthy fortitude, right? And we talking about mental fortitude, healthy fortitude, those things. We don't talk about that. We only talk about the negative. We don't talk about the men who are not doing, and how can we show the men who are doing through the men who are not doing. We don't do that. The community don't care about that. That's not salational. That don't sell ads and what have you. But we will be back here next week. Thank you for joining us here at the Fatherhood Think Tank. We next week, and I already can tell you the topic. The topic next week is about being a deadbeat. It's already put into play. So if you want to come back and have that conversation, we're going to be talking about that. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all here next week at the Fatherhood Think Tank.
Yeah, have a
great one, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
God bless. Good
Baby,
part of it.
I am.
I am.